Welcome back. Earlier this month, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, they released new autism figures. 1 in 50 school-aged children are now diagnosed with autism. And when you compare that to the estimated rate in the 1990s, 1 in 500, it's jaw-dropping. Now, numbers tell an important story, a story about increased prevalence and also increased rate of diagnosis. They go hand in hand. But behind the numbers, that's a very different story, the story of families that have to deal with some of the realities of this, children who have autism and all of the challenges that come attached to us. And joining us now, FiOS1 News anchor Jim Watkins. Now, Jim's son Liam has autism, and he's kind enough to share his story with us. And Jim, I know next month we're all going to be talking about autism awareness. We'll get numbers, but first off, we're no closer to knowing the why for autism, right, than we were before.
No, that's one of the most difficult things to sort of go forward living the autism life, is that despite those enormous numbers, and you mentioned 1 in 500 in the 90s, in decades before that it was considered 1 in 10,000. It was just very rare. Nobody knew anybody really who had this thing called autism. So now that it's come to 1 in 50, which is just mind-boggling if you think about it. Just that means you can almost just take a group of kids on there and go, there's some autistic kids there, another one, there's another one over there. You would think that, well, the progress that we make scientifically, that's the way things work in America, we're going to get someplace with this. We're going to find some answers. It's glacial. There are improvements. There is some genetic knowledge that has come along. But for the most part, I can tell you here tonight that when my son was first diagnosed with autism in 1999, no one could tell me what in the world caused this. And now in the year 2013, no one can tell me what in the world made him autistic. Well, and that's hard to deal with.
Well, tell the audience about Liam.
Liam is now 15 years old. He was born in 1997, and it was still at a time then when this, what I'll call the autism explosion, was really just beginning. There's some pictures of Liam now closer to the age he is, 14, 15, and there he is a little bit on the younger side. He was diagnosed just short of his 2nd birthday, and that was pretty good for back then. The awareness level not near what it is now, but we had him checked every which way because we could tell, Richard, that it just wasn't quite right. He just wasn't making eye contact. He wasn't doing the pre-verbal behaviors that babies do. It was just pointing and making sounds, nothing like that. And my wife and I both felt almost from the start that it just wasn't there. Beautiful little child, and that threw us even more. You look at this, that sort of face there. I'm a little prejudice, but you know.
Thank God he looks like Mom.
That's right. There you go. Well, now I'll take that. And you look at that. Just, I mean, take a look right there and go, how could somebody who sort of looks like that on the outside be miswired on the inside? And that's really as far as the autism explanation of the cause of it that I can go. Is his brain is miswired, and nobody really knows how or why.
And how well does he function? Because isn't there a huge
spectrum?
There's a huge spectrum. I mean, I have friends who some of the real serious problems on a daily basis, and others who, you know, sort of go along.
Well, to answer your first question, I would say that Liam is on the severe end of the spectrum, and I would define that as saying he has virtually no speech.
And what does that
really
mean as
words.
a parent on a daily basis? Because I don't think people understand the commitment, the family, you know, what has to happen on a daily basis.
Well, commitment is the word, 1,000% commitment all the time. I had to chuckle with my wife at something earlier today as I called her to, you know, just to touch base with her during the day while I was working here. And here are the things she told me while she was on the phone today, my wife Lauren. I said, oh, what's going on? What are you up to? She goes, well, I just got the kids someplace. We have twin boys who are 11 years old. But before that, I had to spend like an hour and a half on the phone with the pediatric neurologist because Liam last year started having seizures. For no reason, they just started having seizures. And we had to tweak his medication and figure out how to get it right. So I was on the phone for an hour and a half there. Then I was on the phone for an hour and a half to the agency that sends out the physical therapist Liam works with. She had not been paid for the last 6 months from the agency, so she kind of left. She quit. I mean, you can't have somebody come to work for another. So she had to argue with somebody at the agency to try and get money for the physical therapist. This is a typical day, you know, in the life of the parent of an autistic child. Now, Liam is severe, as I mentioned. What's one more factor that is utterly mystifying about all this is the word autism, the range that you mentioned, the spectrum as it's known. It almost makes the word autism meaningless because it tells you nothing. Right. There are kids, people you say are autistic, who go to an Ivy League college and graduate. Right. There are children like mine who don't have any speech, really any skills, can't brush their teeth, and will probably need 24/7 care for the rest of their lives. So there you are confronted with this mystery of what are we even talking about here? Is this all the same thing?
Well, stay with me, Jim, because we're going to jump to break. When we come back, though, we are at a point in history where the population of autistic children are reaching ages where now, as you know better than I do, there's challenges about what next. And we're going to be talking about that after the break. Please stay with us.